Good morning, children. Let us start with part 5 of Nationalism in India. In the previous part, we read about Gandhiji's Salt March. In that, we read about the 240 miles distance from Sabarmati to Dandi, thousands of people supporting Gandhi and coming to hear him wherever he was stopping. Gandhi urging them to peacefully defy the British rule. Gandhi reaching on 6th of April to Dandi and transgressing the law. This is what we read in our previous part. Now, in this part, what we will be doing will be differences between the non-cooperation movements and the civil disobedience movements, a question that is very frequently or frequently asked. The civil disobedience movement, action by the British government, end of the civil disobedience movement. Then I'll be talking about different social groups in the civil disobedience movement, like the rich peasant communities, poor peasants and the civil disobedience movement, business classes and the civil disobedience movement, industrial working classes and what was the impact of civil disobedience movement on them, and lastly, women and the civil disobedience movement that I'll be talking in this particular part. Let us start with the differences between the non-cooperation and the civil disobedience movements. Children, this table is clearly indicating that non-cooperation movement was totally or different it was from the civil disobedience movement. How now? Let us see. Non-cooperation movement, it was launched on 5th of September 1920, whereas the civil disobedience movement, it began on March 12, 1930 through the launch of the Salt Satyagraha. Non-cooperation movement was geographically confined to certain parts of India, whereas the civil disobedience movement, it saw widespread geographical coverage and mass participation in comparison to the non-cooperation movement. The non-cooperation movement sought to bring the working of the government to a standstill by not cooperating with the administration, whereas the civil disobedience movement was an attempt at paralyzing the administration by breaking some specific rules and regulations. There was a large-scale participation of Muslim working class in the movement, that is non-cooperation movement. Whereas in the civil disobedience movement, this movement saw less participation from the Muslim community due to the policy of divide and rule by the British. It happened, children, because of the Khalifa issue. That is due to the launch of the Khalifa issues, Muslim community. They took part in the non-cooperation on a wider scale. However, the growing nearness of the Congress Party and the Hindu Mahasabha obstructed the Muslims to participate in the civil disobedience movement. That is why less participation of Muslim community was there due to the policy of divide and rule also by the British. Now, one more point is there that is related to the non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience movement that shows us the difference, and that is the civil disobedience movement. In it, what happened was it was bolstered by the reputed industrialists like G.D. Birla, Purushottam Das, Thakur Das, etc. Whereas the non-cooperation movement, children, it was seen with, or it began with, the involvement of the middle class people. That is again a difference that can be seen in the non-cooperation and the civil disobedience. Now let us come to the second, that is second slide, or the next slide, that is telling us something more about the civil disobedience movement to make you all more clear with the concept of civil disobedience movement. The civil disobedience movement was an attempt at paralyzing the administration by breaking some specific rules and regulations, children. Some major activities of the civil disobedience movement were thousands in different parts of the country broke the salt law. They manufactured salt and demonstrated in front of government salt factories. As the movement spread, foreign cloth was boycotted and liquor shops were picketed. Peasants refused to pay the revenue and chowkidari taxes. Village officials resigned, and in many places, forest people violated the forest laws, going into reserve forest to collect wood and graze their cattle. Action by the British government. Worried by the developments, the colonial government began arresting the Congress leaders one by one. This led to violent clashes in many places. When Abdul Ghaffar Khan, who was a devout disciple of Mahatma Gandhi, he was arrested, and the time was April 1930. Angry crowds demonstrated in the streets of Peshawar, facing armored cars and police firing. Many were killed. A month later, when Mahatma Gandhi himself was arrested, industrial workers in Sholapur, they attacked the police post there. Municipal buildings were attacked, law courts were attacked, and railway stations were also attacked. These were all structures that symbolized one thing, and that was British rule. That is why they were hated by whom? By the Indian community. A frightened government responded with a policy of brutal repression. Peaceful satyagrahis were attacked. Women and children were beaten, and about 100,000 people were arrested. End of the movement. In such a situation, Mahatma Gandhi once again decided to call off the movement and entered into a pact with Irwin on 5th March 1931. By this Gandhi-Irwin pact, Gandhiji consented to participate in a round table conference, which was going to be held in London, and the government agreed to release the political prisoners. Children, remember the Congress had boycotted the first round table conference. In December 1931, Gandhiji went to London for the conference, but the negotiations broke down and he returned disappointed. Back in India, he discovered that the government had begun a new cycle of repression. Ghaffar Khan and Jawaharlal Nehru were both in jail. The Congress had been declared as illegal, and a series of measures had been imposed to prevent meetings, demonstrations, and boycotts. With great apprehension, Mahatma Gandhi relaunched the civil disobedience movement. For over a year, the movement continued, but by 1934, it lost its momentum. Now, in this or related to this, a question that is frequently asked in your board examination is that why did Mahatma Gandhi relaunch the civil disobedience movement with great apprehension? Explain. Now, to this, the answer you have to write is in December 1931. Gandhiji went to London to participate in the second round table conference. However, the negotiations broke down and he returned with a heavy heart. After returning to India, he understood that the government had started a new cycle of repression. Abdul Ghaffar Khan and Jawaharlal Nehru were detained and the Congress was banned. A series of measures had been imposed to obstruct the meetings, demonstrations, and social boycott. In the later stage, Mahatma Gandhi aimed to relaunch the civil disobedience movement. That will be the answer to the question, children. Now, different social groups and the civil disobedience movement. Talking about the rich peasant communities in the beginning. In the countryside, the rich peasant communities like the Pattidars of Gujarat and the Jats of Uttar Pradesh were active in the movement. Being producers of commercial crops, they were very hard hit by the trade depression and falling prices. As their cash income disappeared, they found it impossible to pay the government's revenue demand. And the refusal of the government to reduce the revenue demand led to a widespread resentment. These rich peasants became enthusiastic supporters of the civil disobedience movement, organizing their communities and at times forcing reluctant members to participate in the boycott programs. For them, the fight for Swaraj was a struggle against high revenues. This was the case with the rich peasant communities. Now, poor peasants and the civil disobedience movement. The poorer peasantry were not just interested in the lowering of the revenue demand. Many of them were small tenants cultivating land they had rented from landlords. As the depression continued and cash incomes dwindled, the small tenants found it difficult to pay the rent. They wanted the unpaid rent to the landlord or from the landlord to be remitted. They joined a variety of radical movements, often led by socialists and communists. Apprehensive of raising issues that might upset the rich peasants and landlords, the Congress was unwilling to support no rent campaigns in most of the places. So the relationship between the poor peasants and the Congress remained uncertain. Now, the business classes and the civil disobedience movement, what was their role in it? During the First World War, Indian merchants and industrialists had made huge profits and had become powerful. They were keen on expanding their business. They now reacted against colonial policies that restricted their business activities. They wanted protection against imports of foreign goods. And they also wanted a rupee sterling foreign exchange ratio that would discourage the imports. To organize the business interests, they formed the Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress in 1920 and the Federation of the Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries, that was also called as FICCI, in 1927. Led by prominent industrialists like Purushottam Das Thakur Das and G.D. Birla. The industrialists attacked colonial control over the Indian economy, and they supported the civil disobedience movement when it was first launched. They gave financial assistance and they refused to buy or they even refused to sell imported goods. Most of the businessmen came to see Swaraj as a time when colonial restrictions on business would no longer exist and trade and industry would flourish without constraints, without any restrictions. But after the failure of the Round Table Conference, business groups were no longer uniformly enthusiastic. They were apprehensive of the spread of militant activities and they were also worried about prolonged disruption of business now, as well as the growing influence of socialism amongst the younger members of the Congress was also a thing that was worrying them. Industrial working classes and the civil disobedience movement. The industrial working classes did not participate in the civil disobedience movement in large numbers, except in the Nagpur region. As the industrialists came closer to the Congress, workers stayed aloof. But in spite of that, some workers did participate in the civil disobedience movement, selectively adopting some of the ideas of the Gandhian program, like boycott of foreign goods, as part of their own movements against low wages and poor working conditions. There were strikes by railway workers in 1930 and dock workers in 1932. In 1930, thousands of workers in Chota Nagpur tin mines wore Gandhi caps and participated in protest rallies and boycott campaigns. But the Congress was reluctant to include workers' demands as part of its program of struggle. It felt that this would alienate industrialists and divide the anti-imperial forces. Now let us talk about women and the civil disobedience movement. Another important feature of the civil disobedience movement was the large-scale participation of women. During Gandhiji's Salt March, thousands of women came out of their homes to listen to Gandhi. They participated in protest marches, they manufactured salt, and they even picketed foreign cloth and liquor shops. Many of them went to jail. In urban areas, these women were from high caste families. In rural areas, they came from rich peasant households. Moved by Gandhiji's call, they began to see service to the nation as a sacred duty of every woman. Yet, this increased public role did not necessarily mean any radical change in the way the position of women was visualized. Gandhiji was convinced that it was the duty of women to look after home and hearth, be good mothers and good wives. And for a long time, the Congress was reluctant to allow women to hold any position of authority within the organization. It was keen only on their symbolic presence. With these children, I end this part of mine. Meet you again in the next part. Thank you.